Hey, what's up everybody? Professor Mikhail here with Aces Jiu Jitsu Club, and today we're going to talk about the 6 things that you need to know if you're thinking about training BJJ or Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in your life. Before we get started, let's take care of some quick housekeeping and click that like or subscribe button if you haven't already. Your likes and subscribes help us to understand what better content you like so we can get it to you as soon as we can. That being said, let's get started. It's not karate. I mean, both have a gi on, but they are totally different. That's kind of where those two paths diverge. Where the karate gi is very thin and flimsy and easy to destroy, much like the people. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gi is closer to the judo gi, in which it's thick, it's robust, it's difficult to rip because people are going to be grabbing on you, trying to throw you, hold you down, so on and so forth. It's like a big pet peeve amongst jiu-jitsu practitioners when they are like, hey, you know, I train jiu-jitsu, and somebody's like karate, right? And it's like, no, not like karate. It's really important for you to understand the fundamental concepts of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu have more to do with controlling your body and holding down somebody who's larger, stronger, maybe even more athletic than you, and manipulating their body in a really intelligent way than just doing some katas and hitting them and maybe knocking them out, maybe not. It is not UFC. UFC is a company. MMA is a sport, and BJJ is an aspect of that sport that pretty much every champion or aspiring champion has to focus on sharpening if they want to take their craft seriously. That's how important jiu-jitsu is if you want to be effective inside of that sport. But it itself is not the sport. I really don't want people who are just thinking about training to confuse the idea that when they come in for their first session, they're gonna get taken down and punched in the face, right? Because that's not necessarily what happens inside of jiu-jitsu class. That being said, after you get a little good at your jiu-jitsu, a lot of people wanna test their mettle by either training for an MMA fight or with that style, or even fighting MMA in order to kind of test their mettle and see what they're made of. And that's totally natural as well. But that is not in any real place what your first class is gonna be like. It's not magic, right? Which is really important because you see like these Marvel movies and all this stuff where people are doing all these crazy flashy techniques and you know, while jiu-jitsu does have some awesome flashy techniques, again, it's not magic. The techniques that work are the techniques that are based in mechanics. Mechanics, right? Which is part of what makes it so difficult to break out of, even if somebody's twice your size, right? It makes it so difficult to stop for a lot of people because, again, those mechanics, physics is strong in the world, right? So for people who are like, oh man, I'm learning these crazy magical tricks or incantations, that is not true, right? You put your Harry Potter wand down before your jiu-jitsu class, right? The real, it seems like magic, and you know, some of the effects are magical for you as a person as you get deeper into your training. But again, not magic, it's science. It's not a bunch of meatheads just knocking each other around. Well, at least not at the places that I have trained and really had the most fun at around the world. I'm sure there are some places that do act like that. You see that place, turn around, walk out, find a cool place that focuses on community or something like that, right? The cool thing about jiu-jitsu is that it appeals to so many people from so many different backgrounds. Sometimes people confuse that and like, what am I gonna get into when I walk into a place? It's gonna be some kind of a dungeon with a bunch of meatheads. Doing a lunk alert thing is not what it's gonna be like. That's why you have like software developers from EA, what have you, right? Who's on the same mats as professional fighters, right? And while their day gig is being a software developer and their night gig is beating up pro fighters. The idea of jiu-jitsu is that mechanics is paramount, which is what makes it accessible whether you're 5'2" or 6'7", right? That is what brings us all to it. And as you train more and you become humbled by the idea that you can be that much better, you'll notice that the ego in really good communities really chills out and makes it that much more fun to train at. You don't have to be a super athlete. And listen, I have people come in to train with us who are pro football players, pro crossfitters, pro cross country, whatever, pro cross country, like collegiate level cross country athletes, right? People who've made their living to this date on their bodies and athleticism, and they still get strangled and choked out and taken down by people half their size with a little punch in their belly, right? The idea, again, of jiu-jitsu is centered around mechanics, right? And I know a lot of people who, if they're just getting started training, they're saying, I'll get started after I lose a few pounds, and that idea couldn't be further from the truth, right? You will get more fit as you start training because it's going to challenge your body and your mind in ways that you weren't challenged before. But you do not have to be some crazy athlete when you come in. It doesn't hurt to be athletic, but it definitely is not a hindrance either because mechanics. And finally, number 6. We've talked a lot about what jiu-jitsu is not. So now let's have a quick conversation about what jiu-jitsu is. And after training jiu-jitsu for more than a decade, right, and training lots of people around the world and winning in competitions myself, I have found jiu-jitsu to be, just a great vehicle for personal optimization. Whether it is getting rid of stress, because it's hard to think about all the other problems in your life when someone is trying to strangle you, right? To having a better idea and strategizing on how you overcome obstacles, to actually learning how to not get unalived in an actual life or death fight situation. There are so many benefits to even out the ego that we all walk around with and to de-stress inside of jiu-jitsu, and that we haven't even talked about competition yet. That's just as a hobby and what a lot of people call the gentle art or human chess of jiu-jitsu. And this has been 6 things that you should know if you're thinking about training BJJ. And if you already train jiu-jitsu and you're like, you missed something, leave it in the comment section. Leave it in there, type it in. I love to hear those things, and I know a bunch of people who are thinking about training would also love to hear those things as well. And if you're thinking about training, it's just as easy as Googling BJJ and then the zip code and then finding a place to train, right? And then getting over there. If you like the community, then keep training, and like myself and so many other people, you'll realize the benefits of jiu-jitsu in your life. You never know, you might even start competing. Anyway, that being said, keep training, keep growing. Os.
Hey everybody, if you like these videos, you're gonna love these. Go ahead, click it, check it out.